Muted! That might help. Hello, welcome once again to Sable's WorldForge. As you can see, there is no cam again today. I'm better, but I still look like hell, and frankly, I just got up. So, I'm not going to be, terribly, no camera today. And that gives me the opportunity to leave the door open so my kitty can go in and out, because he's having a sore day too, because that's my old guy. And, it's a cold, wet, rainy day. And, in addition, we had a bit of an adventure last night, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm on my way to bed. Get a phone call. Oh, your mom's had a fall. We're taking her to the hospital. That was good. She's okay. Apparently she cut her face and there was a lot of blood, but it was, face wounds bleed, head wounds bleed, but, they checked her out. They're very meticulous about checking for damage when an older person has a fall where I live, and she's okay, so they sent her home. So, so I was up till 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. So, needless to say, there's going to be no episode of Toysoldiers tonight. I apologize, and it's not going to happen. I think I may have Kayetan, but I think that was a while ago. Kayetan is sharing his article on ley lines. I'm going to put it up, but I need at least half an hour to wake up, guys. Like I said, I literally just got up and went, oh shit, I've got to be on stream, so Yeah. Fine, I know how it works now. I even did it on my other computer, stupid thing. Okay. Yes, I think I have seen this, but that's okay, I guess. No, you know what? If you have another one you want to showcase, you spent the points, but yeah, did I not like this one? That's how you didn't know. Well, why didn't I like it? Okay, maybe I didn't do it then. I thought it looked familiar. No, if I didn't give it a like, I haven't seen it. So I will do that. This is a short one. So maybe I'll do that after the first sprint or something. That's okay. This is what I have so far for my plant challenge today. I did not do any work last night. It's been a time. Oh, and I'd like to make an announcement for those of you who've been looking for my Kickstarter for A Few Good Elves in May. I am going to postpone it to June. And the reason why is because we have that Adventure April and Play May RPG event thing coming up for World Anvil, and it's going to need my concentration, and who's going to be paying attention to my Kickstarter, right? So we will leave it for June when there's nothing else to, to compete for attention, right? It's just a sensible decision, I think. I hope nobody's terribly disappointed. It's probably for the best. I have contracted my cover art for May, so if there are any problems that are run into, I should have the cover art, it gives her a little bit more time, and the cover art should be ready when I need it. So that will be fine. Okay. And so, hello there, James, always first in the chat. And salut, Amelie. I don't know if you're back from your shower yet, but if so, I will see you shortly. Or if not, I will see you shortly. And James will be lurking soon for the B word because he is a cat, and bath is a 4-letter word. I hear you. And hello, Mar. Good to see you. That's Carolverse I'm referring to for those of you who are following the chat. And hello, Satrium. Good to see you as well. Oh, and you've got your challenge article. Okay, so that's 2 showcases. So 1 more is on the menu, and then that's it. That's how we're going to do this. Ambrosia fungi. That sounds interesting. Can't wait to see that. Oh, you have a map and everything. I may have to up my game here. Okay. All right. Hey, Daz, good to see you. Emily's like ran back to the stream so fast and she's dripping water. That's hilarious. Natalia says it was a beautiful day to write until 55 pages. Good for you. I'm lucky. I'm pleased for you that you're able to churn out so much material in a short time. That's really great. Yeah. Emily says, no problem, Sable. Better not to get stressed at doing too many things at the same time. Yeah, that was a big factor. I thought about it. I'm like, Here's the thing about the RPG challenge this spring, right? When we first started talking about Adventure April, we started talking about it as an ASC event, right? We wanted to give the role-playing streamers something that would give them as much focus and attention as Game of Tomes did for our writing streamers, right? They took a hit on viewership that month because people started watching Game of Tomes like a sporting event, right? Like their favorite football team was playing, right? And that's great, and it was lots of fun, but unfortunately people stopped watching the RPG streamers for a while, and I wanted to give them something. We wanted to give them something that made up for that. So that was the initial conversation. But then World Anvil decided that they were going to take it over for a community challenge, which is great. I mean, then you got all the clout of World Anvil behind you, and it becomes a really great event and cool. That's awesome. So we, thought we'd work with them for this Play May thing. We're going to have more details about that. There's going to be an announcement stream. Not this Friday, because Gary Con is going on, but next Friday in the Ask an Old GM time slot, we're going to be doing like an ASC takeover to talk about Play May, right? So, yeah. Yeah, because we want to give the RPG streamers the same love and attention that we gave to the writing streamers, and I remember what Game of Tomes is like, and I don't have time for a Kickstarter, if that's what's happening. So, how many showcases do I normally do? I do 3. Oh, thanks, Emily. Emily says, so pretty mushrooms. Gives me some really cool hearts. Yeah, oh, Satrium. Yeah, no, yeah, 1 slot left, guys. Daz is waiting to see if others want to take the chance. Mara is trying to decide which one he wants to do. Game of Tomes becoming a sport. Is Play May related to Adventure April? Yes, we're kind of working with it. The idea is I'll give more details, because we're still hammering out the details, right? So there will be a launch stream, and we will talk about the details more. I don't want to jump the gun and reveal information before all the details are decided. So, but yes, it is intended to kind of be an extension of Adventure April, right? Satrium says, God, I have to say the spell check update for the Euclid editor is a godsend. Mara is agreeing. You aren't doing a theme on the articles, are you, Sable? Like the challenge articles? No. Any article or piece of writing you want to share that is 1,500 words or less, basically. I mean, that's a showcase. You want more than that, it takes about an hour. You need to pay for an edit. So, so one more showcase or edit, and that's it. Right? And no theme. Anything you want. I didn't hear if you said, are you feeling better, and what about Aaron? Yeah, right, you were out for your shower. I'm feeling a little better, but we had a bit of a midnight 2 a.m. adventure last night. They phoned to tell us that my mom had taken a fall, and they were taking her to the hospital. But apparently she's fine. They checked her over pretty thoroughly, but she just had like a bleeding cut on her forehead or something, and those are messy, and lots of fanfare, not a lot of real damage, right? So I'm sure you've been a kid or had a kid who cut up their face like that. So you know, but that was still a phone call 2 in the morning, and we weren't sure that she was okay until 4. So I didn't get to bed till 5:30 a.m. Neither did Aaron, right? And so, yeah, falls are frightening, and with elderly people, we also worried. Yeah, it's not the first time she's had a fall either, so it's one of the reasons why we moved her into assisted living, right? So, you know, they were pretty thorough. They're good at the hospital, but she's okay. So, yeah, that's fine, Satrium. It's close enough. So no, there will be no toy soldiers tonight. I still haven't told my gaming group here. Thank you for reminding me. I am going to do that. Just a second here. I gotta take time enough to do that, but... Hi, Esong. Yeah, I'm sorry. No, I would rather not even bloody try. Okay, Dazzlecat took it. So... briefly, we're sick, Esong, and we were up till stupid o'clock because my mom had a fall last night. She's okay, but we're exhausted, so... Aha! We have Chapter 3 this time. Okay. Alright, so we have the 3 showcases lined up. We'll get there as soon as I get there. Because I literally just woke up and went on stream. Okay. So now I have given the notice. Alright. Oh! Daz used the showcase someone else option. So, throw another 500 in there with the same option and we're good. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay, Song. I appreciate the sympathies. It's fine. I'm feeling better than I have been the past several days, but, you know, I'm still not... I look terrible, for one thing, so... Hey, Chris! Good to see you! Well, that's like extra points. Now I gotta go refund some points. It's cool. Yeah, that forces me to clean up my points. Keep them. I have thousands of points. Are they worth anything to the streamer? No. No, they're rewards that you give to your viewers if you're a streamer, right? For special things they can ask of you in return for their loyalty in watching you, right? So the people who have the most points are the people who watch you the most often, right? Your regulars. Yeah, it's Twitch's way of keeping us addicted. That is far more accurate than anything else. That is literally what it is. And that's the sprint. For those of you who are sprinting, you're 23,000 points even after your oopsie. That's hilarious. You know, I'm up to like 136,000 points in Coffee's channel because I usually just run her stream in the background even if I don't say anything because I just tend to be around that time of day. And I often don't say anything, right? So recently I just, you know, she's got this thing about star bomb. So you rain a bunch of stars on people and then blow them all up with bombs with the stream avatars thing. And I did that just because I felt like it because, you know, I had ridiculous amounts of points. Oh, yes, Esong, how did that go? How did that go? Right, Esong says, I'm decompressing after my professional presentation. This is a big thing that she has been planning for quite some time now, and why we haven't seen a huge amount of her, and I would really love to know how it went. That's great. Mark Carroll is still working on God Noise. That's awesome. Nah, Esong's at 110k. That's awesome. You do the same thing, don't you? You just run it in the background. Yeah. Yeah, Satrim says, I also have streams where I'm close to 200,000 points just because I keep it open. Yep. Emily is changing her plant article. She made an edit and we'll go back to read other people's articles. That's cool. It went really well, says Esong. Congratulations. I'm really happy for you. That is great. That is great. She did good, says Scribe of Nakati. Hello, Scribe. Good to see you. Esong says, we had a lot of positive feedback, and I feel really good about how I represented myself and my group. Well, you cannot ask for better than that. That is amazing. Congratulations. Emily says, I'm at 56,000 points here, but I do spend a few for showcases sometimes. James is at 26.6k, doesn't want it to get any lower than 25.9k. I'm surprised, actually, there, James, because you're always here. Satrim says, I think I'll try something today. Music sprints instead of writing sprints. Why not? That makes sense. Yeah, exactly. Esong says, a national presentation is not what I expected to be doing in my 3rd year of teaching, but enough about me. No, that is awesome. I am so proud. That is great. I'm so pleased for you. That is amazing. But I have no doubt you do great. Because you do great. Because you're solid. So yay, cheers for Esong. Little dance party here. I love these guys. The 2020 pajama party guys, they're great. If somebody's playing cool music and I come into their stream, right, I'll play those. Get writing? What is that green thing that is used to modify there? Kayatan says, World Anvil, ASC, and everyone around it are the best people in the world. Cannot argue. Not at all. Is that like a green bowler hat for St. Patrick's Day? It is a green bowler hat. Okay, that is what it is. Yeah, I love those pajama party guys. I think they're pretty cool. Oh dear. So my pirate there is about to throw the green bowler hat at somebody. By the way, get writing. Yep, in 37 seconds we are going to be doing that. Aw, Mar says, I love the ASC and World Anvil community. It's the only ones in which I feel welcomed. Well, I'm glad you feel welcomed here. I'm sorry you don't feel welcomed elsewhere, but yeah. Yeah. You guys are a good bunch. Alright, that is the Dragon of Productivity. I'm going to get back to work here. What I was trying to decide to do is where I would put my images, because I got interrupted doing that yesterday, because, hey, the stream ran out. It was over, so All right. Or did I fill out all the important information? Well, I think one thing I should do is add the related articles here. Actually, I think I have both the articles I need open, so... Normally it gives me a little message that says that it's copied, but maybe it's covered by my bar there. Oh yeah, I was going to say, since that spell checker thing appeared on Euclid, I haven't had the handy little guide menu here that gives me automatic stuff that I can do with the BB code editor. I don't know if it's related or not, but I was kind of annoyed. I'm like, what the hell? Okay, so those are related articles. That'll give me a better sense of how my sidebar is gonna... I don't know if I have mushroom music. Oh yeah, and I was still working on one section. Uses and exploitation. Oh, that's why I stopped. I was looking for what my article was on. I had an article on Maywine. Silsani, that's it. Okay. Should have remembered that. Don't know why I didn't. think that's pretty clear. All right now. All right, I think I can start adding some pictures. And then I'll have to see if I'm actually under word count. That should be fun. But this is a 2,500 word count one, right? So I should be good. I made some changes to this yesterday, and I'm not sure they've shown up. Double check. Yes, I already shared a utility that embiggens your smaller art and cleans it up as it does so. And I put use of it on my old Tree of Life graphic here that I made. I made this like back when I think back when MySpace was still a thing, so, you know. Ancient history, right? So, it needed to be prettified. I've got room for one more related article there. I wonder if I should put the star mushrooms there. But then again, I'll need cosmic mistletoe, cosmic moss, and jewel bugs later. And that's the sprint, gang. So how'd you do? What are you working on today? God noise, yells Mar. I like it. I arrived here and ate a slice of bread, says Dillian. Well, food is progress, so that is good. Daz is trying to find art. Harold got his second Fauci ouchie, just taking it easy. Good, I'm glad you got your second Fauci ouchie. That's excellent. So, yeah, now just, a couple weeks of incubation and you are good to go for vaccination, eh? Remember, though I was paying attention, Dr. Fauci is still recommending masks in public places, largely because of his concern about the variants. So, guys, you have to be less afraid to go to the grocery store, but it's still a good idea to mask up. Just saying. It'll be a lot closer to normal life, though. Chris is video editing. That's cool. Bob's like, no, Usenet is ancient history. MySpace was the Dark Ages. Fair. I am old enough to remember Usenet, too. I am just saying. I'm old enough to remember when message boards were the big thing and you could get on it with an 086. Cayutan says, I should be working on my fantasy D&D world to prepare for Adventure April, but I also want to expand magic in Magic Earth. That's legit. Emily says, vaccinated people can still catch the virus. They're just way less likely to die from it. But since they can still contaminate people, masks should still be worn. Yes. Yeah, IRC and Usenet for me. I remember IRC too. Yeah, BBS. Yep, I remember all that shit. Chris says, just a video essay for my assignment. That's cool. Oh, Esong too. Fauci's ouchie. Love that phrasing. I'm officially vaccinated as of yesterday. Looking forward to a semi-return of normalcy for everyone. Yes, I am thinking that I may actually get together with my kids and my grandkids for Canada Day. It might actually be possible to do that. That would be really nice. And if not, it will be possible to get together for BC Day, and I am definitely looking forward to that. I have not seen my grandkids in a year. This sucks. Cayutan says, I had to Google both Usenet and MySpace. I have no idea what they are. James says, why is the Cooper always drunk? Because he can't stop rolling out the barrel. That's awesome. No, Cayutan's in Poland, and he's 22. Yeah. Satrium says, I can't even get a vaccine where I live. I'm too young to classify for an appointment yet. Sorry, you gotta wait. We gotta wait for our elders first, right? And those who are highly at risk. And then... Yeah, and Bob too. Yes, but no longer fearing one's own death is liberating. Today is day 11 after my second. You've got 3 more days before you can be absolutely sure, I believe. So that is great. That is really great. And I am really glad to hear it. Bob's high risk, Esong's high risk, right? And I think Harold lives with someone who is high risk, and that is why they are, ahead in the queue. I'm getting mine with general population, but we are moving it up, so it sounds like I might have mine done by May. That would be really, really good. I am looking forward to doing my part in the fight. So, that is cool. Yep, exactly. Daz says to Mar, we are always glad to see you, Q. And Esong says, you have a home here for sure, Carol. You bet you do. Cayutan says, in the grim darkness of the internet, there's the light beacon of World Anvil. Mars like, yes, the light from the forge. Yes, that's awesome. Kayatan says, I, member of the Worldsmiths Guild, thank the builder and the storyteller for all of their work. No doubt, eh? Really good, dedicated people, and that is why they attract really good, dedicated people. They are a wonderful illustration of something that... Okay, I'm going to move towards our first showcase of the day here, because the sprint's about to start, but I'd like to pontificate on this a bit, if I may. Okay, so I have a theory. There's all these Ayn Rand disciples going about glorifying the, glory of selfishness. Selfishness is okay, even if you don't want to do the right thing, to do the right thing. Selfishness is a short-term strategy that is ultimately doomed to failure. Because sooner or later there will be a crisis. And if everybody is selfish and you've been selfish to everybody around you, they will not help you when there is a crisis. You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time, and people will know that you are an asshole. They just will. So, if you, on the other hand, are kind and try to reach out to others, then when you need it, they will reach out to you. You can't count on it for certain, but, you will find it is there more often than you think. And usually it will be there in your darkest hour. Ultimately, that's a better long-term strategy because people who are cooperative create an environment where it is easier to be cooperative. People can spend less time worrying about their rank survival and spend more time worrying about contributing to the group or enriching the group in some way. And ultimately, cooperation is the strategy that basically elevated our ancestors to the top of the food chain on this planet. There are lots of other very bright species out there. Very few of them cooperate like we do. Right? If there is a man-eating tiger, the whole village goes out and kills it. Right? The only other species who tend to do that are ants and other colony insects. Dolphins. Right? So, yeah. That's my thought. Okay. Is there a reason why I don't swap to Euclid? I think it has all the functionality of Legacy and some more. Because I am 46, and I have learned 3 programming languages in my life, and I am not terribly inclined to learn how to be a computer programmer in order to maintain a writing website. That is why. Because I don't understand all of it, and I don't really care to. If I have stuff to use, people can, tell me and I'll use it. Right? I know BB code because I've been on forums for a long time, so it's intuitive for me, and I don't have to think about it mostly. So that is why. And I shouldn't have to, Okay. Yes, Harold has been doing some prepper stuff as he gets ready for hurricane season and more incompetence. He lives in Texas. Hey there, Darth. Good to see you. Welcome. Chris's back is hurting. That sucks. Back when MySpace was actually good, it sucks to hell now. Yeah, typical. Another company bought it, and it went to shit. I think it was... Who owns it? Was it Google? I think they bought it to kill it, basically. Amelie says, I started a washing machine and put clothes back in the wardrobe. That's good. Okay, and then we had our... Do you remember the good old days when we, back in... Actually, no. Those were the bad old days of the internet. It was a lot more troublesome. Let's be honest here, gang. Yeah. Yep. Harold's was terrified of being a widower. Yeah, exactly. Satrim says, I'm completely fine with waiting, just not fine with government taking way too long to do it. because they just failed completely. Guys, honestly, okay, I have to tell you. Okay, I got no love for certain administrations. Right? But as far as the vaccination program goes, everybody's complaining it's taking too long in every country I know. But guys, do you have any idea of the logistical nightmare involved in this? Like, I really don't think you do. Logistics are hard. They're really, really hard. I played this. We had a Mech Warrior game, and we had a vaccine that was going to eliminate periphery pox, which is really dangerous fictional disease in that universe. And so we had to plan out how we were going to distribute this vaccine within a relatively short time period of each other, because remember, we have like interstellar space travel. So you want to talk about the problems of spreading viruses now in our, interconnected world, try an interconnected universe, right? And we wanted to spread the vaccine as quickly as possible over several planets. And this required, like in a fictional scenario, at least 5 game sessions of planning and an immense amount of money. Like immense. My character basically personally bankrupted her fortune trying to accomplish this. So, guys, it's hard. Actually, the fact that it is happening so quickly is pretty impressive. I can't even fault, conservative governments seem to be doing less well than more progressive governments overall in a general trend, whether that's at the state or national level, but they are still doing it pretty, they're still doing a pretty good job, guys. Science fiction writers have written about trying to do this problem, and it has taken like a year or more to get, vaccines distributed. In some cases, like 5 years, in their best case scenarios. I was asked to refresh the page before I read this, so I am doing that. And I can say this as a science fiction writer who has considered this, right? Yeah, Darth can probably get his schedule next week because, of course, his partner is high risk. Realm is high risk, so they need to do that. Yeah, I wish Poland vaccinated people living with someone high risk as my dad is, says Kalyatan. Yeah. Go you, Pontiff, you. Thanks, Harold. Yeah. And then Montana's moving to general. Satrium says if people would be less selfish, the world would be a better place already. The more unselfish people there are, the better the world is. It's just we have to be diligent against the selfish people. And the problem is that they're very good at hiding. So we need to keep an eye out for them. And we need to not have such poor boundaries that we're willing to let them operate unchecked. Yeah, Harold says that's the more human strategy. Exactly. Euclid has nothing to do with coding. It's just a fancy version of the BB code editor. I'm not interested. I don't care. I don't want to learn it. I have learned enough already. Maybe when I have time, I will do it. Right now, I do not have time. What other art sites than Pixabay? Unsplash, Pexels, Pixel, Vecteezy. There's also publicdomainpictures.net. Satrium wants to argue with me today. Okay. You're welcome to have your own opinion, and that's fine. I don't agree with it, right? I think they're doing the best they can. They're making mistakes, and I think that a lot of people would make mistakes. This is not something that we've ever had the technology or resources to deal with effectively before, and we're learning new ways to do things as we're doing it. Honestly, I have written scenarios where it could have been a lot worse. I'm pleased it's as good as it is. Is it perfect? No. No, it's not. No, it's not. You're right, they haven't been that great with communication, right? They haven't been, and they have made some miscalculations. That's legit. To say it's not that hard, though, I don't think that's fair. It's all brand new territory, so yeah, it's hard, right? Especially, have you ever tried to get a group of people to do anything? Like, you can't get a group of people to agree on which way is up, you know? Like, I have done enough community organizing that, you know, trying to get people to not actively fight each other while they're trying to accomplish a purpose is a nightmare. So, and you know what? You're entitled to your opinion, man. You disagree, you know, that's cool, right? I hope when you do run the world that you will do a better job than they do. That's great. Me, I can't fault them, right? I can fault how they mismanage shit in the beginning in some places, and I do, right? Because denial and a lack of concern for human life has caused a great many problems, and that is definitely worth criticizing, and I'm absolutely not on their side about that. Not at all, right? But for the most part, the vaccine rollout has been good. Yes, and that's part of the problem. We have capitalism, right? Emily says the problem is that the manufacturer can't make enough vaccine quickly enough, so that every country is fighting to get what they can, and everyone is complaining they can't get enough. Yeah, that is absolutely the problem. If we did not have capitalism, we could just commandeer all these resources and force them to make enough for everybody for free, you know, and that would be the ideal. Right? But no, we have capitalism, so, you know, that's the problem. Because of capitalism, they don't have enough places to build the vaccines that they have because it wasn't in their best financial interest to have done that because of cost-saving measures. So even trying to get more manufacturers up and running for vaccines is a much slower process. And yeah, right? In a more socialized system, right, you would already have the manufacturers just in case. And they would be maintained at expense to the state just in case they were needed. And we don't have that. So this is what we have to do, right? Yeah. Yeah, 400 and 600 million injections in the US. In India, 1.5 billion. That's amazing. Like, yeah. I'm remembering how hard it was to integrate ASC into a World Anvil after summer camp. That was telling. Yeah, herding cats is hard. It's hard. Stupid decisions in Germany. Okay, I don't have the context there. You're right, there, Satrium. So, more reading. You're right. Let's do it. This is Cayetan's article on ley lines. I will, it's a short one. And I intended to start short, so I'm gonna put it there again, just so people can follow along. Okay. Ley lines. Type, metaphysical, arcane, natural law. Ley lines are a network of magical corridors which distribute magical energy from the nexus of magic throughout the earth. Nexus of magic. Source of magic. Some people tried to trace, or I would say have tried to trace the ley lines back to the nexus, but have failed, right? Because I assume they're still trying. Secondary nexuses. Around the world, there are places... actually, you might speculate as to why. Why were they unable to do it? What were the problems that they ran into when they tried to trace it? Right? Like, was it just a confusing mess? Was it that it went too deep into the Earth's core for us to be able to do anything about? Like, it might help to get some idea of why and what the symptoms were of them being unable to trace it. Yeah. Okay, secondary nexuses. Around the world, there are places where many ley lines converge. These are the so-called secondary nexuses. In some cases, there are buildings built on top of them. The secondary nexuses are, by many cultures, are considered the more usual way. There's nothing technically wrong with what you've put, but the more usual way in English is the secondary nexuses are considered special places by many cultures. Okay. Examples of secondary nexuses. Temple Mount, Jerusalem, Israel. And that's a sprint for those of you sprinting. Probably nobody was because I was too busy yapping. If you were, tell me how you did. St. Peter's Basilica, the Vatican, the Kaaba, Mecca, Saudi Arabia, Washington Monument, Washington, D.C., USA. Is that considered to be a magical nexus? That's interesting. I mean, it can be in your world, of course, but I'm wondering, like, I've never heard anything about the Washington Monument considered to be a significant nexus point and you seem to be basing most of these things on stuff that is considered to be an especially magical place in the real world. Sedona, Arizona, United States, yep. Stonehenge, United Kingdom. Forbidden City, Beijing, China. Pyramids of Giza, Egypt. Some of the more important Shinto shrines in Japan. And Louvre, Paris, France. Can I throw out options for you there, Cayetane? I know of several more, right? I'm a witch. I don't think it is in real life, but it is in my world. These are just examples. Go ahead. Okay. But some of us who aren't represented would really like to be. I'm sure there's like some awesome places in Eastern Europe too that should probably be mentioned. Like, how about you know, how about the Taj Mahal, right? That'd be a place. Mount Fuji, in particular, in Japan, is considered to be a major, like, magical converging place. Ayers Rock and Uhuru in Australia, right? I don't know if we have any that's really famous in Canada. I'm just gonna... Canadian Nexus. There. Now, let's try Ley Line Nexus Canada. Let's try that. Oh, my kitty would like to go out. Just a minute, kitty. Oh, no, we're not gonna do this bullshit. Goodbye. Yeah, I thought there was a major one in Quebec somewhere. Oh well, I'll look it up later, but I know there's a couple of major ones in Canada too. Anyway, power from a nexus. Every magic user can channel power from a secondary nexus and possibly from the main nexus of magic. This energy can strengthen their spells and reduce the number of people needed to cast. Some of the secondary nexuses are popular tourist places, yeah, tourist sites maybe, but places is not technically wrong, where magic users go to renew their magical energy and move it back to its strongest amount. However, there's no proof that it works. Some non-magical people believe that direct contact with a secondary nexus can give them magical abilities. However, nobody has been able to achieve that. Maybe you have to be born in it. And then related articles, magic, ability to manipulate parts of the world, and nexus of magic, source of magic. Yeah, that's cool. I like stuff incorporated from, like, I like urban fantasy settings where magical qualities are given from real world stuff, right? There are places, and that's the Get Back to Work Sprint Dragon, by the way. There are a lot of real life places that are thought to be significant magical energy points. Yeah, Mount Fuji's the big one in Japan, and you know, obviously, like, places in Tibet are big deals, and there's a big one in India, too, and there's a temple on it. I think a Buddhist temple. Also, nexuses were first, building second. Yep. Yeah, Machu Picchu, South America. That is one place that is thought to be a major ley line nexus there. No, I like the concept. I want a snack. I like snacks too. They're cool. Kailasa? Yeah, that could be a thing. Yeah, they have cultural importance, not just religious. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna address the stuff related directly to the article, and then I'm going to take a bit of a break while the sprint timer's running. Yeah, because Emily said, I'm wondering about why you chose religious places for some countries but not for others. And the answer is that, yeah, they have cultural importance, not just religious. Although I would argue the Washington Monument is actually a perfectly reasonable place to set that, because I think that American imperialism is a religion. Yeah, Kilimanjaro is another one that is famous. Yeah, I'll type some of the places. Ice Rock, Australia. Mount Fuji, Japan. Right. I think it's actually K9, not Everest. Right. Tibet. I think it actually has its own name now. Although Manifest Destiny would suggest that imperialist mentality has been worshipped for a while. I'll tell you one place, actually, that you guys won't know. And it's, let's see here. I'm trying to remember. It is the Manitoba Provincial Legislature Building. Hello, Galacron. Good to see you. Legislature. I can't remember how to spell legislature today. Winnipeg, Canada. And yeah, okay, well, I got it close enough to give me a spell check. Legislature. I don't know how to spell legislature today. Oh, for fuck's sakes. I'm gonna look it up because it's pissing me off. Okay. we go. That is how it's spelled. Now, I was nowhere near it for some reason. Okay, so this building, if you've ever been to it, it's fascinating. Go look it up, because this building was built like a Masonic temple. It's not, it's the provincial legislature building, and it's built like a Masonic temple, and it's within like 5 kilometers of the geographic center of North America. Or, yeah. So, or of Canada, or something like that. That, I've been to it. It's a trip. It's interesting. Do I know any interesting facts about real-life ley lines that you could use? Yes, they tend to mess with magnetic things. If you stand on a nexus point and use a compass, it's not unusual for the compass to be completely screwed up. They'll sometimes slowly just turn around, right? All that stuff that they used to associate with witches has been attributed to nexus points, things like electronics, electronics randomly malfunctioning, right? Clocks suddenly were like watches running backwards, shit like that has been known to happen, right? Also, if you happen to hit a ley line and you're driving, right, it sometimes takes you, like, you end up where you're going faster than you should have been able to get there, right? That is something I've personally experienced. That's really interesting. Yeah. Yeah, lots of really, really interesting stuff with ley lines. They often become centers of worship in different cultures. Sometimes there are accompanying tectonic tremors that don't really seem to follow the tectonic plates that we are aware of, right? Let's see, and there was another thing I was thinking of there that was important as I was talking about it, and I lost it. So maybe in my world I can make some roads along ley lines. Yeah, I mean, your magic users would consciously be using that, right? So I'd suggest look at a world ley line map, because I know they exist, and, have major highways built along them. Or maybe people are arguing about whether or not to put major highways on them. Oh yeah, Tara, Ireland, UK. That's supposed to be a ley line nexus too. Oh, and you could always use the good old-fashioned Bermuda Triangle. I don't remember exactly where the Bermuda Triangle is off the top of my head. Okay, I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back. Keep sprinting if you're sprinting. I'll join in when I get back. We'll do another sprint after I return, and then we'll do our next showcase. And thanks for sharing that, Kayatan. I have a real interest in ley lines and nexus points, which is why I got all, like, fascinated and started talking about stuff. So, oh yeah, the Parthenon in Greece might be a good spot. There's wherever the original Oracle Stone was. I think it was in Thessaloniki, actually. Which, for those of you who are World Anvil people, know that that's the city where Janet Dimitri currently live. Yep, Bermuda Triangle. Florida, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'll be right back. Thanks, Esong. That was helpful. Alright, I'm back. Yeah, Kayatan says most leyline maps show them as straight lines, but as my ley lines have a purpose of distributing magical energy, maybe they don't need to be straight lines. I think the reason why they tend to be drawn as straight lines on maps is because people are drawing lines between the physical places on the Earth where the nexuses exist, right? So I think they do run straight in a lot of places, but not necessarily. So, nah, maybe your dudes have mapped them out and they're a little bit more curving, you know? And besides, those lines really aren't straight anyway, because of course they have to go around the curvature of the Earth, right? We're just about at the end of this sprint or break, whatever you were doing with it. I am going to ready the next showcase here. I really like this one, Kaitan. I like it when people take concepts that are mystical in real life, if they're going to do some urban fantasy variant, and then and this is the truth of how they work in the world where magic is actually, like, tangible and you can measure it, right? I like that. I like that stuff a lot. And that is the sprint. This will be Satrium's article that we will be doing here in a minute. We're going to have another sprint first, though, but then I'll do that one. All right. I am checking to see if there's anything important I missed in the chat. I'm being gentle on myself today and not over-pressuring myself to do anything in particular. Yesterday was a very roller coastery day with a lot of downs and ups. It was tiring emotionally as well as physically, so yeah. Yes, Esong speaks truly of some confusion around when the Anvilite Streamer Corps formed. World Anvil embraced us with open arms and officially incorporated us, but then there were some discussions about cross purposes, like World Anvil's needs as opposed to the Anvilite Streamer Corps' needs, and some people said, you know, like there was an impression that it was basically a, you know, takeover of the ASC, and it's not accurate, but I can certainly see how it gave that impression, and it was messy for a while. And these are people who are good people, who genuinely care about other people, who share a hobby that they really enjoy, or a business in many cases, and want to, and that's not just World Anvil themselves either. There's a lot of people who, like myself, who do things professionally on World Anvil, right? And yeah, so there was, because of misunderstandings and different needs from different perspectives, even a group that caring can come to disagreements. And everybody still agrees that World Anvil and the ASC are like the best community on the internet. And they're still right. It is. Right? So. Natalia says, Greece is so beautiful. Goes on the list of countries I want to go to. Right under Scotland and above Egypt. Huh. Oh, Satrium made some changes, so please refresh the article. Okay, I can do that, totally. I like how everybody's doing fungi. I'm starting to think maybe my mushrooms aren't that unusual. Oh well, it's okay. Hey Satoru, I haven't seen you in a while. How are you? Yeah, with the Earth's curvature argument, no line on Earth is straight, says Kayutan. You want me to blow your mind even more? No line in the universe is straight. You want to know why? Because the universe is curved. Space is curved. It's all curved. That's part of why when we're trying to measure the distance of stars, we have to consider the bend in the wavelength of light. Yes, there is no such thing as an actually straight line. And if we did find one, maybe we would find a wormhole through space that would let us do some instant faster than light travel. Yep. Thanks, Esong, for the support. I appreciate that. She says, glad you're taking care of yourself. Satoru managed to get his laptop working normally, so he'll probably be back to streaming. Or possibly be back to streaming. Maybe, probably not. Up to you, man. You know, you've been missed, I can tell you that. Calutan says we are drawing closer and closer to ASC's first birthday. Yes, it's coming right up here, isn't it? Summer camp approaching quickly. Satrium says, even more mind-blown, space-time is not only curved by mass, but it might actually be curved by itself and actually be a four-dimensional sphere. Yes, that is absolutely true. I have been reading all kinds of stuff and watching some great videos. PBS does a good series on YouTube about this sort of thing, which has been very helpful to me and enabled me to write my article on faster than light travel in my world. It won't matter, Satoru, right? Satoru says, provided we don't burn up in the atmosphere from light speed. Well, the thing is that if we are successfully traveling at light speed, the atmosphere is the least of our concerns, right? Because we're basically transcending the way matter works. So you don't, I mean, like, we're obviously not going to hit Earth's atmosphere at light speed. If we hit like dust in space at light speed, we might blow up. So yeah. Oh, that's the one, PBS space-time. Yeah, so it's not going to be a problem. That's like the least of our problems. I'm going to get back to work on a sprint this time, guys. If you would like to preview Satrium's article before the showcase, which will be the next sprint block, it is here. And I'll probably post it again just before we start the showcase. In the meantime, this is going to be a working sprint for me. I really want to finish this today. But I'm not going to be too hard on myself. Okay, we're going to try something here. Glowing blue dust in space. Pixabay. What the hell? It has some pretty good stuff out there. Maybe it'll work. Space dust and dust images? Okay. I want to show, like, spores in the air. That would be cool if I could do that. Yeah, I didn't think that this was going to be, but I thought I would give it a try. Okay, I absolutely love this picture in the bottom left corner, I'm just saying. That is funny. Okay, that did not yield fruit. Let's try some other stuff. Alright, let's check this out. Well, looks like snow to me. Come on now. Ah, now that's interesting. That might have use. I see there's lots of trippy videos. I didn't realize I could use videos for free. Okay, that's not what I'm after. Might have been useful for something else. Nope. Huh. Alright, that's neat. Okay. I'm not sure how to explain all this, like, flowing stuff here, though. Spores running over the tree of life with interstellar winds, maybe? Interesting. Well, why not? Does not have to be a very big video. Well, you're no help, are you? Okay. I'm gonna have to upload that to YouTube and put it in an unlisted link in order to use it, so I am making sure that I have the okay. Cool. I haven't entirely decided if I'm going to use it yet, but oh, okay, other way. That didn't seem to help at all, so I'm going to do that. What's that one when you put a line in it? See, this is the kind of shit that I wanted in the handy reference, right? Horizontal line. Yeah, that's the one. I'm going to do this to my other species article too. I want to... This is all too close together in the sidebar, and it mushes it, and it looks like... It's all mushied, you know? And that's the sprint. Alright, let's see how that did. How'd you guys do on what you're working on? I don't think I need that many spaces. I think I'll take off the ones after average height and average weight. So that'll all be in one box. Kind of on a bit of a roll, so let's try that now. Yeah, I think I like that. Okay. All right. Emily made a comment on Satrium's article and now remembers all the suggestions that she gave. Love the new bits that you've added. So that's cool. Mars feeling a little overwhelmed with Camp Nano and the reading. Maybe you should save the reading till May. But if it's inspiring you to work on God Noise for April, then cool. So, yeah, Mar is going to be reading their story, or his story, the God Noise, which I think is awesome. And I was really enjoying how it was starting. And, oh, you finished the first one. Okay. And then you're working on God Noise Part 2. Okay. That's great. No, it's really interesting. I love his language. It's so descriptive and visceral. It really kind of puts you in the setting. It's excellent. I don't know where the story's going yet, from what I've read, but I'm interested. I'm invested, and I want to know. So it's really something, and I suggest, I recommend that you check out his reading of his work, which he is going to start in April. And I'm excited. I think it's going to be awesome. So yeah, definitely check it out. I think he's going to start, I think that I'm rating, or he streams after me on the first day that he starts. So I'm definitely going to rate him so that you can check it out. Okay. Kalyatan has redeemed a 5-minute brainstorm for original ideas for vampires, and should I include them? I don't know. Do you feel that they are necessary? Would they make a good antagonist for your mage types, who seem to be the focus of your work there? Right? Yeah, Kalyatan says, you've got me interested with the title alone. Yep. Yeah, it's interesting. It's cool. No, that's a sprint. No wonder when did this stream it? That or it could be COVID. Hello, welcome. Good to see you. Delian drew a couple of houses for a village that he's mapping. Daz feels like cursing because, I don't know, she was talking about maybe I should collab with someone who can do art for the Adventure April. Cayetane says if ley lines make travel quicker, should they also affect planes flying above them? Yes. Yes, I think they should. That's my opinion. How are you today, Raven? Good to see you. Raven Writes does some really awesome writing streams, and he talks about the craft of writing often in his streams, which is something that I think is really important, and often a lot of the writing streamers do not do. So I recommend you check out his stream. Definitely awesome. Why did it hold your thing? Because you vampire, apparently. Stupid. Oh, Cayetane, I'd give you vampire ideas, but yours would then end up like mine, and we can't have that. Hello, Barbarossa. You're awesome, too. Good to see you. Emily says, I saw on the Discord that you're going to read your story, Carolverse. I don't think I'll be up at that time, but I'll make sure to watch the video afterwards. Yeah, definitely check it out. One last refresh for Satrium's article, which we're about to start. Anybody else have suggestions for vampires for Cayetane? Because honestly, I've written a lot of vampire stories. I was really into them as a teenager, and I'm not sure that I can come up with anything that's truly original. I'll tell you what, I would actually suggest that if you want original ideas for vampires, things that are going to feel fresh, I would go back to the old folklore, because nobody's fucking doing it, right? You could, you know, have your vampires actually be like corpses or spirits that drain energy. Maybe they're related to succubi and incubi, you know, or, you know, the demons that cause sleep paralysis or whatever, right? That could be useful. Gnome vampires, says Daz. They drink inspiration so they can keep crafting widgets and gizmos. That's hilarious. Barbarossa is working on his Marcher's Coast. Yeah, that's what, sorry, that was Daz's suggestion, the gnome vampires. Raven is doing well, fiddling around with some poetry, because apparently I enjoy being in over my head. I feel you. Emily says, I was also reading absolutely every vampire story I could find a while ago during the big bit-lit surge. Yep. Yep, that's awesome. Yeah. I was really into them when Interview with the Vampire became really big in the early 90s, right? I mean, it was written long before, but it didn't become big until the rest of the series came out, like the Vampire Lestat, you know, and Rice's Vampires. So that was the first surge of vampires, and then there was another one around the Twilight era. Yep, insect-based vampires, says Barbarossa. I have a story where I wrote about one of those. Emily says, if I have one warning, vampires are old, so if you have vampire characters from another country, be careful of how you depict that time period and culture. Yeah, that's legit. I'm constantly on the verge between adding them and not adding them. Maybe you could keep them as entirely spirits. Vampire spirit beings, spirits that drain your life energy, and demons and shit, these are the things that are older than anything that is a walking corpse vampire, although those came next, right? So you want it to be fresh, and you don't want to go into a lot of detail about vampire politics, that might be a way to go. Could try to parse what it is about vampires that really interests you, suggests Raven. Good idea. He adds, is it the drain your essence vibe? Maybe look for something that does that without the fangs and blood. Yeah, well, the original spirit vampires drained life energy or sexual fluids. These are the things that they were into. Darth says Buffy is what got me into vampires. Yeah. I really like the old comics I, Vampire. Yeah, it was cool. There was also the whole natural vampire stuff, Morpheus, the character, you know. Right? Mostly the mystery, monstrosity, says Cayetane. And Raven says, is it the seductive but threatening? Could walk that line entirely free from blood or teeth. Yep, could be done. Barbarossa says, I am adding vampires into my world, which aren't so much bloodsuckers, but steal souls and use blood for blood magic. There you go. That's another way to look at it. They could be trying to gain youth from the blood, like the whole Countess Bathory thing. Anyway, this is, I think that's 5 minutes. Here's Satrium's article on ambrosia fungi, which we're about to do. Ambrosia fungi, from the world of Lothria, a cornerstone of the culture of the Golden Coast, and as dangerous as it's beautiful. I'd actually spell out it is there. You've got the right it's. Good for you. Okay. Distribution. Ambrosia spores can be found all along the Golden Coast and on the islands near the coast. Cool. So this region, basically. And you can open this map full size if you want to. Like stars on the dark night sky, the spores of the mushrooms fill the nights of the Golden Coast. A gift by the Moonweaver, they are there when the moon is not, and bring light when there is none. But don't let this beauty fool you, as it might be even more dangerous than it's beautiful. Rover Goldrock. The Moonweaver is a goddess, I assume. Ah, Sehanine. Okay, so we have a D&D setting here. Forgotten Realms type setting. Yeah, I thought the Golden Coast was a familiar name, but it could have been from another world. Fair enough. Scientific name, fungi ambrosia. Geographic distribution, the Golden Coast. Related ethnicities, the people of the Golden Coast. Nicknames, Nightlight, Starbringer. Cool. For those who don't know, Sehanine is an elven goddess of the moon in the Forgotten Realms D&D setting, and she takes a lot of inspiration from a Celtic goddess called Arianrod, and Selene, and a couple of neo-pagan goddesses, versions of moon goddesses. Description and habitat. The ambrosia fungi are bioluminescent mushrooms growing in the forest to the east of the mountains of Roxtoy on the Golden Coast. During the night, they shroud those fortress, so you need ES, it's a typo there, into a slight bluish light, which can often be seen from ships sailing along the coast. Oh, come on, did you steal my blue glowing spores? Okay. They grow all over the trunks of many different kinds of trees, creating a symbiotic relationship with their host. The trees provide the mushroom with nutrition, while the mushroom uses these psychoactive effects. Oh, their psychoactive effects. You've got the wrong there. You need THEIR there. Yeah. And spell check doesn't catch that shit. They're stupid. Okay. Yeah. While the mushroom uses their psychoactive effects to protect the tree from predators. That's cool. They release a protective cloud of spores when they feel threatened. Neat. The mushrooms seem to have a unique tie to the cycles of the moon. Even if they release their spores year-round, it seems to ebb and flow with the moon, releasing most of their spores during the new moon. That's interesting. That would be a kind of a... And it makes sense because mushrooms grow in nocturnal environments, right? Or dark environments. So, but that was kind of a flip, right? Most things tend to be more like fertile and producing during full moons. So that's interesting. And this is a bit, I'm gonna do a little editing here to help you with redundancy. Take it or leave it. It's a suggestion. The mushrooms seem to have a unique tie to the ebb and flow of the cycles of the moon. While spores are released year-round, most are released during the new moon. There is one there, and then that way you're not being quite as redundant, right? With repeated phrases and information that is, emphasized 2 or 3 times, which is not really required. Okay, there's one big exception to this cycle. Beginning on the first new moon of fall, the mushrooms stop emitting their spores completely, just to emit a burst of them a few weeks later when the first full moon of fall shows up in the night sky. When the first autumn full moon shows up in the night sky, I would say, and then that way that doesn't repeat in the fall. We have 2 words for autumn. We can use them interchangeably. It's my suggestion. like I said, take it or leave it. I'm not married to it. This is just, trying to help you with writing. Effects. The mushrooms inflict different effects on different species and people. Yeah. Okay, and then this is a new sentence. Okay, rather than a comma there, because it's a separate idea. So, the mushrooms inflict different effects on different species and people. Period. Capital T, the most common effects include euphoria, feelings of well-being, relaxation, disruption of linear memory and sense of time, increased awareness of sensation, and slight hallucinations. I recommend the Oxford comma for that sentence, so putting a comma after sensation, but other people will argue with me, and that's entirely personal preference. The reason why I would put it there is because that is the way in which you would read it. It suggests that it does need a pause there, right? But like I said, I'm not married to it, and yeah, like I would do that in my own work to help the reader out, but it's not required. It's correct the way it is, right? It also causes the metabolism to slow down, causing a decrease in heart and breathing rate and a loss of appetite. Those effects can set in only seconds after ingesting parts of the mushroom or its spores. So then I have a question, and maybe you'll answer it in the rest of the article, but my question is, if the mushrooms are just present in the ambient air, that means that people are breathing them and ingesting them all the time. Do people walk around high? Right? Depending on the amount ingested, those effects can range from only a slight high up to the total loss of higher brain functions. Ingested in large amounts would be the more correct word there, right? The effects cause the creature to feel an incredible amount of euphoria while losing all sense of time, linear memory, and sense of self-preservation. Again, I would personally use the Oxford comma after linear memory, just because 1, 2, 3 is the rhythm in which it's read, right? They become completely unresponsive to any stimuli, essentially entering a comatose-like state. With no outside help, they eventually just starve and die. Do be aware that this is not typical of psilocybin mushrooms, but hey, your mushrooms are not psilocybin mushrooms. You didn't put that in the genus name. So maybe they do different things. In even higher amounts, the mushroom will be lethal within a few minutes as it slows down the metabolism to a full stop. I would also put a comma after minutes and before as, because the sentence naturally suggests a pause there. Okay, this makes, again, not necessary. This is just a suggestion. It's correct the way it is. This makes entering the forest without proper guides and knowledge about how to avoid those mushrooms incredibly dangerous. I would say this makes entering the forest without knowledge of how to avoid these mushrooms, comma, or a proper guide, comma, incredibly dangerous, right? Because it's not and, because the reason why you take a guide is because you don't have the knowledge, right? So it's an either or, it's not a yes and. Even if they look incredibly beautiful, if you get caught in a discharge of their spores, you will usually enter this comatose state within minutes. Got it. Maybe people use breathing apparatus when they enter the area, right? Because the thing about the spewing of mushroom spores, and I gave this some thought in my own article because I too am writing about a mushroom, right, is that they're ambient. They're there all the time. They don't just instantly disappear once they've been poofed out into the world, right? They settle on things. They exist like dust, right? So there's always some. Do they become inert after 24 hours or something? That could be a thing, right? But I feel that should be mentioned if that's the case, right? Okay. The glowing forest. I love the picture. That's beautiful. That's Artbreeder? No, that's something else. That is really nice. I like that picture quite a lot here in the glowing forest section in the sidebar. In the night of the first full moon of fall, you can witness one of the most beautiful things nature has come up with. In that night, you don't need that phrase. That's redundant. Just start with all the ambrosia fungi, because you already told us in the night of the first full moon of fall. We already know that's when it happens. So you don't need to say in that night in the second sentence, because you've already established it's in that night. Okay. All the ambrosia fungi release their spores, filling the whole Golden Coast with glowing little lights. During this night, the Golden Coast celebrates the Night of the Moon Festival. Sounds like fun. Okay. And then related articles here. Shroomworks Technologies. It was only a matter of time till somebody figured out how to cultivate the ambrosia fungi. Yeah, of course. Now Shroomworks is creating various technologies using them. Makes sense. And Sahanine the Moonweaver. Lady of the Moon and Goddess of Lovers, Illusions, and Trickery. It's interesting because the lovers thing is a take that is not present in the Forgotten Realms setting, right? Hanali is the elven goddess of love in the Forgotten Realms setting. So, are you combining the two? That's kind of cool. Uses. Ambrosia fungi and their spores are used in many different ways along the... Actually, you know what? I'm going to take a pause here. That's the end of the sprint anyway. And I'm going to see... Oh, it didn't dingy at me. I'm sorry. Hello, Angstaze. I'm really glad to see you. Thank you so much for the raid. It did not dingy at me. Right? Yeah, I'm gonna check out what's been said in the chat because just in case there's been responses. Oh, hi, Eli. I didn't see you sneak in. Good to see you. Hi. Welcome. How are you? Oh, and yeah, I do recall that Natalia put a link to her book up here. In 1 month, it's going to be released. So go ahead and post it again. There it is. Okay, over 1 month, my collection of short stories will be out in the world. That is awesome. Okay. And thanks for the poke in the ass, by the way. I better get on with the editing. Okay. Amelie says French vampires are popular characters, but as a French person, some of them really annoyed me. Yeah. How did you feel about the vampire Lestat? I am very curious. I was a big fan of him in, like, I mean, he's kind of an asshole, but, you know, all teenage boys are assholes, so that didn't stand out when I was a teenager. I mean, okay, not all, but a lot. So, Kayatan says, if I add the vampires, I will make them not sensitive to sunlight, but hunting, feeding at night, not to be spotted by humans. That's logical. Dracula was not damaged by sunlight. The original Bram Stoker written Dracula was perfectly fine moving about in the day. Hello, Haley Creates. I haven't seen you in a while. I am glad to see you. I'll say hi in the chat then, because Haley is on mute, or because she's doing her own stream. So, yay! So there we go. And happy writing, everyone, which is awesome. Satrium says, I'm stealing my gods from all over the place to have them be familiar to my characters. That makes sense. Homebrew setting with bits and pieces from other things. That's great. Rabbit Candy Void, I haven't seen you in a while. How are you? I'm glad to see you. How are things? That's awesome. Eli says, sounds more like an Amanita mushroom. Yeah, it does. It does for sure. Yeah. But that's not in the genus name either, I don't think. Or is ambrosia the name for... No, it isn't. Satrium says, for your question, basically, yeah, depending on the amount of spores released, people nearby will walk around high. So basically, everybody in the Golden Coast is a little high all the time. That's fun, okay. Well, that could be a fun place to visit, I'm just saying, especially since mild euphoria tends to be part of the deal with that. So, yeah. Yeah, Angsthaze says, like with the mold allergy, you mean? Yeah, exactly. Exactly what I'm talking about. Satrium says, I'm mixing a few gods as the Forgotten Realms pantheon is way too big for me. That's fair enough. Eli says that they are well. That's good to know. Amelie likes Lestat. Okay, that's good to know too. Did I just call Lestat a teenager? Fucking right. I really know nothing about Anne Rice's stories. Couldn't get into them. Yeah, it depends where you start. Hello, Maya writes, or Mia writes. Hello, I'm still, and I haven't seen you in a while, but glad to see you. Hello, I'm still recovering from a mild cold, so I'm about to go back to sleep, but have a good stream. I have the same cold, and I'll tell you, I'm probably going for a nap as soon as I'm done. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in, and self-care. Take care of yourself. Satrium says, just imagine what happens during the night of the Moon Festival when the whole air is filled with spores. People are wrecked. That could be interesting. Emily says, I read the first 3 of Anne Rice. I found Lestat, the vampire novel, fun because it was set in France for once. Yeah, I really liked that. That was my favorite of the lot. Louis was too whiny for me in the first book. Louis's just whiny. The 3rd book was more boring. Yeah, it went off the rails. And the 4th one completely lost me. The 4th one lost you? I loved the 4th one, actually. The Tale of the Body Thief. I thought that was excellent. But fair enough. Oh, that's the 5th one. Memnoch the Devil, right? And I didn't like where it was going. No, I am not a fan of that book. Yeah. So, no, you gotta find Tale of the Body Thief. That's the 4th one, and it was amazing. You'll love it. Okay. You wanna know what the worst vampire I ever read was? Fucking Lost Souls by Poppy Z. Bright. Yes! Even in my highest vampire phase, I could not get into that one at all. I was like, who cares? I don't care about these people. I don't care about what's going on. Screw them. Why did vampires become so popular in fiction? I don't know. They go through stages. They become popular again every 20 years. My guess is because they often represent sexuality in popular culture, so they tend to appear when there are moral panics about sexuality. So they were big during the Satanic Panic and the AIDS epidemic in the 80s and early 90s, and, you know, they were big again when, I don't know, probably people started having a moral panic about how everyone was queer all of a sudden, because they're, you know, it's not like we haven't always been queer, we just stopped trying to pretend we weren't. So, yeah. I may or may not have read the 4th. I forgot. I borrowed the 4th and 5th at the I borrowed the 4th and 5th at the library, so I have no trace of that, says Emily. Okay, I really like the 4th book. The second one, The Vampire Lestat, right? And the 4th one, The Tale of the Body Thief, are the 2 best, in my personal opinion. And I love those. But you're right, Queen of the Damned was boring. Interview with the Vampire was whiny. Alright, getting on with Satrium's article. Uses. Ambrosia fungi and their spores are used in many different ways along the Golden Coast. The harvest of those mushrooms, I would say these mushrooms, right, is incredibly difficult, which makes the fungi really expensive. Yeah, people tried to have tried to grow them in a more controlled environment for easier harvest, but only one group has succeeded so far, or company, or whatever. One group, one company has succeeded, right? Working together with the Confederation of the Golden Coast, Shroomwork Technologies is creating various weapons and technologies driven by this mushroom. I would like to know more about that. I'm probably going to check out that article. Medicine and recreational drugs. In the right doses, both the spores and various parts of the mushroom can be used to gain a feeling of relaxation and slight euphoria. It's a popular drug and has been for hundreds of years. The use has mostly been culturally accepted until a few decades ago, when the Confederation of the Golden Coast started regulating the supply and distribution. Still to this day, neither the selling nor consumption is legal, and it is still regularly used by wealthy people, which makes addiction to this drug a big problem. So they're addictive, eh? Typically, hallucinogenic mushrooms are not, right? There's no significant addiction rate to psilocybin mushrooms. I don't know as much about the amanitas, but I don't believe they are either. Right? So that's interesting. right? Or is it that just an assumption that was made because you knew you were writing about a drug? Because not all drugs are addictive, right? So, okay. In even smaller amounts, the mushroom is used in medicine, mostly for for its effect. You said the mushroom is used, so that's singular. Mostly for its effect. Since it's not a person, it can be referred to by its rather than a singular they, right? Of slowing down the metabolism of the patient and as a painkiller. Yeah, I was thinking about that when you were describing the metabolic effects, actually, that it probably would be really good for surgery. Religious and divination rituals. The ambrosia fungi do also serve a big part in various religious practices, which of course they do, because hallucinogenic mushrooms always have. Especially the Church of the Moonweaver along the Golden Coast. Okay, this is not correct grammar. Let me see if I can help you. You don't need especially. That would be the best way to fix that sentence. Just start with the Church of the Moonweaver along the Golden Coast, and you don't need the comma there, uses them because of their unique ties to the cycle of the moon. They're used in various divination rituals, enhancing the prophetic abilities of the priest. For some rituals, the priest even... Okay, if they actually do enhance the prophetic abilities of the priest, and this isn't a subjective opinion because they're high, right? Then I put a game stat in there. This is your campaign, right? Maybe as a tool tip, right? +2 to the success of your divination roll. One additional question answered, whatever it is, depending on the various spells that are involved, right? Just different ways in which it's enhanced. If it is, if you would want to do that in different ways, depending on the spell, like maybe when you use a commune spell, it's more than just like the sense of the deity and answering questions. Maybe you have an outright conversation, whatever. So if you want to do that, I might put that in a box in your sidebar, right? Effects of ambrosia fungi on divination, right? And then have like a table or a list, right? So, okay. For some rituals, the priest even takes an overdose, entering this comatose state. Why would you do that? You should explain why the priest does that. Even if these rituals prove to be highly accurate in predicting the future, so you say it does actually have an effect, they are incredibly dangerous to the priest and are usually only done once a year. Okay. I would start a new paragraph here. For some rituals, that's where I would start the new paragraph, because you're talking about a very focused idea on this particular practice. The priest even takes an overdose, or I would say priests of Sehanine even take an overdose, clarifying which priest, right? Like, we need to be a bit more specific, because this priest, right? Or priests of the Moonweaver. The priest of the Moonweaver even takes an overdose, entering this comatose state. These rituals are highly accurate in predicting the future, but incredibly dangerous to the priest, period. Because you've got a lot of different things that you say here. One priest is selected a year to undergo this process. And that could probably be a new paragraph. This priest has prepared for this ritual for most of their life by going through extensive mental training and taking small doses of the drug over decades to gain a physical resistance. They will only ever undergo this process once in their life, right, or this ritual, to protect them from the worst side effects. Afterwards, recovering from the usage of this drug can take years, and some never recover completely. Those priests might have to deal with addiction and sometimes even permanent brain damage or other physical injuries for the rest of their lives. So yeah, it sounds very much like an amanita mushroom. Okay. Yeah, so break that up a bit is my suggestion, and, group ideas together, right? One idea is that they're used in prophetic rituals, especially by the Church of the Moonweaver because of cycles of the moon. In the second, you're discussing the risk of doing so and the process by which the priest does it to mitigate the risk. And then in the last paragraph, you're discussing the afterwards effects, right? The after effects. Weapons and technology. Roughly 20 years ago, Rover Goldrock discovered a way to cultivate the ambrosia fungi in a controlled environment and opened up the possibility of various and different are the same thing. Pick one. Pick various or different. Yeah. And open up the possibility of various technologies and weapons. This has created an enormous backlash in the population, mostly in the followers of the Church of the Moonweaver. But many powerful people in the Confederation of the Golden Coast see, because we've been in present tense until that point, so we must stay in present tense, or have seen if you want it to be past, right? Because you need past perfect in that case, right? The potential in his technologies, and allowed Shroomworks technologies to operate under strict government oversight. Government oversight, not governmental oversight. These technologies are still early in development and highly experimental. Various test runs have already been made. You have B made. Typo, right? And a few of those we don't need to repeat technologies. How about, and a few seem at the edge of being usable by civilians and militaries. In addition to creating, come up with a different word for technology. Get out thesaurus.com and replace some of these, right? Is my suggestion, because it becomes very awkward. And, yeah. And what do you mean by technology, right? Like, you speak vaguely of these technologies. What are you doing with them, right? They're going to be used by militaries and civilians. I assume you probably go into detail about it in the Shroomworks Technologies article. So I'm not asking for detail, but this is a lot of vague, right? And it may be better not to mention it at all. If you have dealt with it in the Shroomworks Technologies already, I would completely delete the last paragraph, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. These technologies are still in development and highly experimental. Various test runs have already been made, and a few of those technologies seem to be at the edge of being usable by civilians and militaries. In addition to creating new technology, I would delete that. If you're going to keep the last paragraph, delete that entirely, at least, right? They have also perfected, is how you would start that, the creation of medical drugs out of the mushrooms, okay? Because in addition and also mean the same thing, right? We've already established in the first couple of sentences here and this paragraph over at the beginning that we're creating new technologies. We don't need to say new technologies. We don't need that, right? It bores the reader. I would start with, they have also perfected the creation of medical drugs out of the mushrooms and made them available to a wider range of people. That's useful, right? Both their canons are based, I would say, on those fungi, and various medical appliances like sleep aids are close to completion, right? So, again, though, I would say if you dealt with that in the Shroomworks Technologies article, you should take that paragraph right out. Okay, yeah, and the following section has been hidden by default. Content warning, death, and suicide. If you are fine with reading about this topic in this world, click the link below. All right. I'm not afraid of. So, trigger warning for those of you who are uncomfortable with that concept. I will read that section now because for the sense of completion. Okay, so la 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 for those of you who are not comfortable with this concept. Execution and euthanasia. This practice is frowned upon from the outside, but in the Golden Coast, death by ambrosia is considered a humane way to end a life. Yeah, I can imagine. You go peacefully, right? It's even considered an honorable way to end your life before illness or old age, not life, old age, gets you. That's kind of sinister, but okay. The people of the Golden Coast are proud, and many of them choose this way. Your comma's in the wrong place there. The people of the Golden Coast are proud, comma, and many of them choose this way before their health degrades to a point when they would have to depend on nursing or other external help. See, that you should also say ableism in this content warning. Death, suicide, and ableism, right? Because, you know, there's a strong movement right now, that's the sprint, by the way, for those who are like there's this feeling that a disabled life where you have to depend on others for assistance is somehow lesser than an able life. Some people are very angry about this concept, and they're fighting the idea that, you know, disability means that you should be euthanized, right? So, and there's a certain like it's a titchy subject. You're right to put it behind a content warning, and I'm not saying don't write about it, and I'm not saying that this isn't appropriate for your culture. Part of the reasons why we create cultures that don't believe the things we do in our universe is to explore the idea of what they're about and show that we believe that their ideas are not right. So that's fine, right? I'm just saying add content warning, death and suicide, comma, ableism to your thing there. Okay. Taking an overdose is painless, and some would even describe it as relaxing when you get this last moment of happiness and euphoria. Even the Confederation of the Golden Coast offers its citizens, wrong it's in that case, you need IT no apostrophe S, citizens, plural, execution by ambrosia when sentenced to death instead of execution by blade or guillotine. And, you know, we've all got our own personal feelings about contentious issues like this, so cool, again, that you put this behind a content warning, right? And I'm as a way to ease passing, or if you're going to have executions as a way to do a humane execution, that's probably, you know, I'd prefer to go this way, right? Even the Confederation of the Golden... Okay, no. Yeah, no, I read that. Okay, the perfect murder. It's rumored that criminal organizations abuse this tradition. Yep, see, there's another one of the problems that you run into when you are talking about execution and you critique that. This is one of the critiques against it. By spreading rumors about the degrading mental or physical state of their enemies, and that is also, yeah, exactly, right? Often this forces the target to take an ambrosia overdose or be expelled by society if they can't disprove these rumors. That's horrific. If they don't take the step by themselves, the organization might do so for them. So basically, there's societal pressure to end your life if you are, if you have to be taken care of. That's awful, right? I really hope you're, like, I was liking these guys, but now I'm like, these guys are clearly the bad guys. That's terrible, right? What happens to all the war veterans, you know? You know, do they not value their elders? Yikes. Okay. You know, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying that's bad at all. Exploring ideas are important. You know, but that's cool. Okay, that kind of flips my perception of who these guys are on its head. Interesting. This form of suicide has been ingrained into the culture of the Golden Coast to a point where it is mostly, so you're confirming, where it is mostly expected to do so when you reach old age and can't provide for yourself anymore or suffer from a terminal illness. I would punctuate that differently. This form of suicide has been ingrained into the culture of the Golden Coast, comma, to a point where it is mostly expected where it is mostly expected, you don't need to do so, when you reach old age and can't provide, comma, and can't provide for yourself anymore, semicolon, or suffer a terminal, or when you suffer from a terminal illness. What counts as a terminal illness, comma, or the point when you are no longer able to provide yourself, comma, is a very subjective topic and differs from region to region and person to person. This makes it hard for many people, and that's this get back to work growl. This makes it hard for many people to look for help, comma, out of fear of being diagnosed with a terminal or mental illness, comma, and frowned upon by society. Huh, wow. That's intense. Okay. Yikes. This is like, this is very cool, actually. I really like the twist. That is fascinating. That is fascinating. That makes these guys... Okay, I just recently... Thank you, you did take my suggestion. Cool. I did read Watership Down recently again, and there is a warren of rabbits where the characters meet that seem, you know, they're happy, they're well fed, they're healthy, right? You know, they're huge, right? And but they won't answer, where is anybody? Right? They don't value the tales of their traditional trickster deity, and it turns out that the reason why everyone's doing so well is because a farmer is, you know, found a warren of rabbits, went, I'll keep them, right, and eat them. So they're semi-domesticated. They'll put, like, food out for the rabbits, so the rabbits get, like, the best of vegetables and stuff, but there's snares all over the place. So nobody asks where anybody is because they probably walked into a snare and died, and they're all living under this, you know, pressure of that, of the shining wire being the potential of their end, right? And they're creepy as hell. This is creepy as hell. I'm going to add that, actually. Yeah, Amelie has some good critiques here. I like the name Shroomworks Technologies too. That's pretty interesting. The link to the moon cycle is interesting as well. Yeah, good stuff. This is good work, Satrium. That took a while to read, so I'm going to post the link again. The idea came to me while writing the article, and I agree it's creepy as hell, and there's a reason why I put it behind a content warning. Yeah, that's fair enough. I got nothing at all against, you know, creepy and uncomfortable content as long as you are using it as social commentary to show why this is a bad idea, right? That is creepy. Yeah. Yeah, much of early vampirism in literature was dodging censors of the day. Yeah, legit. It was used to cover sexuality, like a veneer. Okay. There's lots of good conversation about vampires. I do not have time to do it, unfortunately. I will have to catch it myself on the VOD. I hope I got enough social commentary in there, but I'll expand in the culture article when I get to writing it. That's cool. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, yeah, I don't have time to do that and do the last showcase. So, hmm. I'm trying to decide if I have time to read this before 4 o'clock. Because that has gone later than I thought it would. Who is after me today? And I need a break. So, let's see. Nobody is after me today. Okay, so we're going to run a little late. And I will read Daz's article after this and another sprint at least. And I hope that's alright. And I'll also try to address the vampire conversation if I have time, because some of that's really good analysis. I was skimming through it in the history of vampires in literature, and that's important stuff. In the meantime, I'm using the rest of this sprint to take a bio, and I will join in writing when I get back. I'll see you in a minute. Alright, I'm back. I'm going to use this sprint here to get a little bit more done, what's left of it. Then we'll do some chat, then we'll do another sprint, and then I will read Daz's article. Alright, that's the sprint. Alright. So how'd you guys do? I'm going to try to catch up a bit on the chat here. Yeah, Emily points out that starting with Polidori's vampire, vampires have looked seducing. They use their charm to get close to young women to exploit them and then leave them to die. It was a metaphor for syphilis in many ways, people figure, in the Victorian era. When Harker met the vampire brides, for example. Exactly. Raven writes, points that out, and then says from Stoker's Dracula, Chapter 3, I felt in my heart a wicked, burning desire that they would kiss me with their red lips. Yes. There's also another long serialized novel about a vampire. That was Varney the Vampire. Oh, and you said that. Satrium says, oh, okay. I think it will change done only once a year to only done during the festival. Yeah, that's important. People need to know that they do it because it's significant to the festival. That makes sense. Okay, and then here's a list of books with a short timeline of vampire literature. Oh, I'm going to check it out, actually. I think I've read all the books mentioned there. I can tell you all the earliest ones had seducing vampires. I'm totally going to check it out. Okay. Blow me with your cookie preferences. Oh, there's lots of stuff here I have not read. I read every vampire book that was out there at one point. Yeah. Cool. That's by no means a complete list. Okay. By the way, I'm forming Tab Army now. Not as big as Sable, says Caludan, but it begins. Byron wrote about vampires. He tried to, but didn't finish. That was the famous retreat where Mary Shelley came up with Frankenstein. They were all... Oh, good night, James. Thanks for joining me today. Oh, and thanks for the save check, Haley. Sleep well, James. Lappin' for life. Yeah, there was this famous retreat where Lord Byron, Mary Shelley, Percy Bysshe Shelley, right, and yeah, Byron's secretary or whatever. Yeah, Amelie's talking about it. They were in a villa in Switzerland when there was a big volcanic eruption in Ireland, I guess, or in an island. Yeah, Krakatoa maybe. And it was the year without a summer. The weather got really bad. They were blocked inside and decided to do a writing challenge. Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, and Byron started something but didn't finish. It was his secretary Polidori, who took over the idea and wrote The Vampire. Yep. His vampire was very much inspired by Byron himself, which is why vampires have been seducing from the very start and predatory against women. Yeah, legit. Yeah, Amelie said, by the way, I've done a very big cleaning and I only have 20 internet tabs open. I started using the grouping tabs together thing. So at least I made some sense. Hi, Stretch. Bye, Stretch. I understand he showed up and he took off. Okay, I'm going to get back to work for this sprint. I would really like to get some stuff done. Yeah, I can't group most tabs or I won't see them either. I just did it when I had a bunch of stuff open for I got a bunch of stuff open for the conlaying I'm working on, and I got a bunch of stuff open for the Navy ranks that I'm working on. Alright, growth rate and stages is where I need to put a bunch of those. No, I don't think I can use these guys, can I? Because they're not bright enough. Not if this is my standard. Yeah, I don't think I can. So, okay, that's fine. We'll use these guys. That's in growth rate and stages. Yes. Yeah. Feet in meters. 1.5 meters. Cool. 8 feet in meters. There we go. That's better. Now, That's where I'll want that image right there. Now let's see how big that is. Too big. I wanted it less like a... Well, that looks nice though. I don't know. Maybe I will keep it there. Just center it more. Nah. Be smaller. Alright, so... 250, let's try. Not big enough. Let's try 300 and put it on the left. Maybe I will make a bigger picture because I just thought of a quote I could use. Oh. That's in my manuscript on World Anvil, and that is Brothers in Arms. Do I have that open? I don't think I do. No, I do not. But that is okay. And that's the sprint. Okay, now... James salutes to Sable as he goes up the stairs to his dorm in House Lappin. I like it. Wow, this has been chatty. Aw, thanks, Emily. She says, Sable's article always looks so pretty with all those mushrooms. I want to read it. It'll be done soon. Alright, let's see. What did I miss? I missed a lot, apparently. Have you heard about Order of the Dragon? It's cool, and I might use it. I have not, Kayetan. I'm pretty sure Kayetan went to bed, but I'll check it out. I may have. This has something to do with vampires, doesn't it? I don't need this tab anymore. No point in leaving up shit I'm not using. Monarchical Chivalric Order? Oh yeah, Wallachia and Moldavia and yeah. Continued to play a role in Hungary, Croatia, Albania, Serbia, and Romania, fighting the Ottomans. Yeah. Yeah, I have indeed heard about this, actually. Quite some interesting history there. The Ottomans were a bit of an unstoppable force. DM Stretch said earlier he missed his game stream again tonight, but a friend came around for a few games of MTG. Had a good evening, which is cool. Clickety-clack, says Daz. Yeah. Which is where Dracula got his name. Yep. And then they took inspiration from the Order of the Dragon and added it to the film, which makes sense. Saydream earlier said, thank you so much for your feedback. It's really useful and appreciated. I'm glad it's helpful. See, I'm all about Granny Weatherwax type critique, right? You know? I chew you out, but it's because I love you. Am I going to be on late? Yes, I'm going to run for maybe half an hour. Were you planning on streaming after me? You're quite welcome to take the whole slot. There's like, let's see here. That's Mar I'm talking to. I've got, yeah, I'm running later because there wasn't anybody scheduled. And Toysoldiers will not be happening tonight, right? So if you want to take this whole slot until coffee comes on, I see no reason why you shouldn't. Or we could raid DM Stretch if he's on. Either way. The scribe says he's currently researching which royal families are still around today. Turns out the answer is a lot. Yes, that's true. Which is crazy when you consider how much money they represent. Not really. Remember that the money that belongs to the royalty actually belongs to the state. More or less, right? What surprised me, says Amelie, was to learn that in Europe, most of the kings and queens still have political power, sometimes even a lot. Yes. Actually, here, let me explain, guys. I've done a bit of a study about this. I'm sort of a monarchist because I believe that somebody needs to have the power to say no, right? I think that I compare, you know, what's going on in constitutional monarchies, and that's the sprint, by the way. Get back to the sprint if you're sprinting. But this is going to be I'm going to finish the chat, and then it's going to be a read Daz's article. Okay, actually, they do have a lot of political power, right? For instance, no bill in Canada gets passed without the Queen's assent. Okay, so officially, she has the power to just go, nah, I'm not giving my assent to that, and we can't do anything, right? However, in practice, what happens is that the Queen's representative, the Governor General, who is usually it's officially appointed by the Queen, but she generally appoints whoever it is that the Prime Minister recommends, right? So not really, but yes, right? Actually signs everything into law, right? And the Governor General has that power, and also the power to dissolve government, right? Like when governments are, you know, breaking apart and not effective, they can force an election, right? Otherwise, elections happen roughly every 4 years, right? So, and then in each individual province in Canada, there is a representative of the Queen with the same powers on a provincial level. They do not answer, okay, those are called the lieutenant governors, but they do not answer to the Governor General. They are all direct appointees of the Queen, technically, because each province is sovereign in Canada, right? So, they all have technically the power to go, no, we're just not passing that into law. What they don't have is the political capital. Because if they ever actually did that, it would cause an enormous upset. Now, they have dissolved ineffective governments before, but usually only at the request of the existing Prime Minister. And that's how it works. Like, officially, the Prime Minister or the Premier of a province goes, government ain't working anymore, we need an election. Or, yeah, government is, it's time to do another election because it's been 4 years, right? And they officially request that either, you know, if it's provincial, the lieutenant governor, right? Or if it's the Governor General, dissolve the government, and then we have an election, right? So officially, they have all kinds of power. The Queen has all kinds of power in Canada. But if the Queen ever actually tried to use it, probably our government would break apart because they don't have the political capital to do it. People don't believe in the legitimacy of her right to do that. But it's also interesting pointing out our Prime Minister is not the head of state. The Queen is the head of state. The Prime Minister is like actually the president of a corporation, right? They're the primary minister. They're a bureaucrat, right? And the military gives their oath to the Queen, not the Prime Minister, right? So the commander-in-chief is the Queen. In practice, I think this works out as long as the government is constitutional and therefore a democracy of some form. This is a good form of government because it divides the power. And instead, if you don't have that, you end up electing a king every 4 years, right? Who tries to, who's generally drawn from a bunch of sociopaths because they're good at projecting to people that they're effective and likable. So that's my opinion. It's an interesting thing, I don't know why that's a scandal, Emily, right? No, look at Belgium, for example, or Liechtenstein. Yeah, hell, I didn't even have them on my list, says Nakati, or says Scribe Nakati, right? Emily says, even in the UK, they pretend they don't, but there was a big scandal last month revealing that the Queen has secretly lobbied the government to change several laws to her advantage. Yes, absolutely. They do that. You bet. It's very interesting. So. Yeah. Emily, you're becoming the lead herbologist in World Anvil Flora. Or is it botanist? Probably botanist, because they're not all herbs. Daz says, okay, I have a stack of pancakes and fried egg monsters. Anyone think of anything else? Bacon snakes. 1819 notifications. I don't think I've gotten that much since starting World Anvil, says Satrium. Yeah, I never catch up, right? Like, it's a lot. Yes. I have a lot of notifications because some of those are comments, and likes, right? And some of those are, which I categorize in its own thing. And I, we'll get around to deleting eventually. And then, actually, I think I delete the likes now, but I leave the comments, right? And a lot of them are stuff that I've followed and, because when you like an article, if somebody comments on the article, you get a notification, right? So every time I like one of your articles, when you guys showcase it, if anybody comments on it, I get told. So that's a bunch of it. Or it's responses to my comments. Anyway, this is Daz's showcase. This is chapter 3 of her book. Strawberry Jam Ooze Monster sounds cool. Should the butter be a weapon? How about quicksand? Like quicksand, it drowns you? Sartorium. Sounds like a name for a building. That's cool. Streaming until coffee comes on. Okay, that's cool. No, I didn't see the last scandal about the Queen's consent. What was that all about? Yeah, many countries have a difference in head of state and head of government. The USA just combines that into one role. And also commander-in-chief. And I think that's way too much power for any one person. And you should rewrite your system, man. I think if a monarch actually uses one of their immense powers, it's the last time they'll do it and their power will be taken away. Yes, maybe, but how do you do that? right? Because we would have to completely rewrite our constitution, which in the multicultural, many-nationed makeup of Confederated Canada would be a fucking nightmare. Just saying. I don't want to delete a notification. I want to keep track of likes and comments. Yeah, for sure. Okay, chapter 3. It was late morning by the time Fox woke up and was ready for the day. Thanks, this is incorrect, by the way, KS. Thanks to a huge wet tongue sliding across his face. He should interact with his dog at that point. If that is what woke him up, then affectionately he gave the dog a pat, you know. As he slid out of bed. I don't know. He affectionately gave the dog a pat on his way out of bed. Fox glared at his freshly shaved face in the mirror. Regular shaving was supposed to convince his measly fuzz to turn into proper beard hairs, but thus far, it was not working. That's cool, I like that. Huffing out of breath. Actually, nah, never mind. Forget I said anything. You can leave your first paragraph, it's fine. Just change the X to KS. Huffing out of breath, Fox left the cabin and locked the door. Then stepped back up onto the dock. He left it up to Pepe and Juju to decide which of them would join him. Juju jumped onto the dock while Pepe crunched his way through his bowl of crumps and jerky. A mix of clumps made of oats covered in honey brittle and small pieces of jerked meats. Crumps and jerky were rations made for traveling and as edible for dogs as it was for people. Juju had already gobbled down his. Okay. My question here is the crumps and jerky. Are they going to be important to the plot later? Okay, good night, Satrim. Thank you for joining me today. Thanks for sharing your article. It was very cool. Yeah. Minor. Okay. You've spent an awful lot of time on it. That's why I'm asking. Right. This sounds good, by the way. Crumps and jerky. I think I'd eat it. While Pepe crunched his way through his bowl of crumps and jerky. I think you can do a lot more showing than telling here. Let me see. Yeah. Let's see. How would I put that? Let's see. Crunched his way through his bowl of crumps and jerky. New paragraph. Good idea, said Fox, reaching into his belt pouch for a handful of his own. He smiled as he saw Pepe licking around the clumps, quotations, of oats covered in honey brittle to get at the pieces of jerked meats instead. Fox tended to prefer it the other way around. I don't know, something like that. And then he's like, you know, it's an action thing, right? We can gather there for traveling later. that demonstrates that they're both eating it, right? Yeah. You know, and if you think it's important that Juju has already eaten theirs, you can have Fox say, finished yours already, eh, Juju? He gave the dog a scritch on the head, something like that. Fox started walking again and then stopped. Shirey was coming down the dock towards him. She was carrying a basket that held only a nicely folded cloth. Hello, Fox, she said with a smile, but did not offer her cheek. Okay, this is again a lot of telling and not showing, so I would say, yeah. Okay, what you've got currently, and then I'll try to... Hello, Fox, she said with a smile, but did not offer her cheek. This was broad daylight on a busy dock. That would have been near scandalous and a clear sign that they were courting, which they most definitely were not. Instead, they were having a secret dalliance. Fox arched a brow at her. This was not being very secretive. Miss Craigjumper, how lovely to see you. Okay, hello, Fox, she said with a smile, but did not offer her cheek. Not in broad daylight on a busy dock. Exclamation point. Fox arched a brow at her. This was not being very secretive. If she wasn't careful, people were going to get the idea that they were courting, which they most definitely were not. And I don't know if we need to say instead they were having a secret dalliance. Maybe? You might want to put it there. But, I mean, I already got that impression from the other two chapters, so I'm not sure it's necessary. I don't know. It might be. I mean, if you haven't... I don't recall that you've said that outright to confirm it yet, so that might be important to put it in there for that reason. And that's the sprint, by the way. Yeah, a little minor reworking, that's all. Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, which they most definitely were not. Okay, I'll leave it at that, the way I put it. Okay, and then Miss Craigjumper, how lovely to see you. Yeah, this was not being very secretive. Perhaps you could put that line there. Yeah, this was not being very secretive, Fox thought. Something like that. I was wondering if you had any more of that ginger, night pepper, and hot bark, she said. Spices were, after all, his family business, even if grandfather was dead and only Fox was left. Okay. I was wondering if you had any more of that ginger, night pepper, or hot bark, she said. And again, that would be a single space between the quotation mark and she would be not capitalized, because it's part of that sentence. Spices were, after all, his family business, even if grandfather was gone now, and he was the only one left. And Fox was the only one left. Footsteps came running down the dock. It was Thimmy running up to Shirey. This ain't shopping, Shirey. Timmy, right? Timmy accused. Footsteps came running down the dock. Timmy ran up to Timmy came running up. "This ain't shopping, Shirey," he accused. "It's smoother." Okay. Fox rolled his eyes but said nothing. "Mama needs the spices, Timmy," Shirey scolded him, "and Fox has them all." "Let's get to business then," Fox told them before they could drag the day on with their arguing. He quickly measured out the spices into paper satchels before taking the coins from Shirey. He did not wasting his time counting out the copper she needed back in change. You don't need to say coins. We know. Instead, he just gave her a silver coin, then wished them both a good day, then wished them both a good day shopping for the other things their mother wanted. The siblings left, with Shirey only able to smile a goodbye to Fox as she was tugged away by Timmy, much to Fox's relief. "A bit daring, boyo," a voice said from behind him. Fox turned. An old fisherman sat on a crate stacked on the dock beyond the Gosling. An old fisherman sat on a crate stacked on the dock, beyond the Gosling and near a fishing boat tied beside the keelboat. A bottle of rum stood on the crate beside the old fisherman. "What am I daring?" Fox asked in an amused tone, eyeing the rum bottle. "Craig Jumper's little girl," the old fisherman said. "Heard her over in your boat a night or two." He raised his rum bottle and winked at Fox. "No worries, she's not wanting a wedding, says I ain't telling folks." Juju panted out a laugh. I like that. Commentary from the dog. That's excellent. Fox sucked in a breath in hopes of fading the red from his face, then cleared his throat. "Thank you for your discretion." "Name's Bristol," the old fisherman said. "I'm too old to see a girl unhappy these days, and it's good to see you enjoying life after losing your old man." His voice turned sad. "Harder to do when you get old." Okay, since you put that there, going back here, right, and that's, get back to the sprint for those of you sprinting. Where is it here? Yes. I would say this instead with this line. "I was wondering if you had any more of that ginger, night pepper, or hot bark," she said. Spices were, after all, his family business, even if grandfather was gone now. Or even if grandfather and dad were gone now. That's it. That's all you need to say, because then down here it refers again to losing the old man, right? And now we're drawing to his orphan status, and that's good enough, right? Rather than overemphasizing it, right? Because we pick up that information here. You don't even need to, yeah. Or you could even say up here, which most definitely, which spices were, after all, his family business, even if he was the only family left, even if Fox was the only family left. Family, and maybe in quotation marks, right? And then we are getting into more details here. Lost the old man, right? Yeah, that's how I do it, right? Spices were, after all, the family business, even if only Fox was left, right? And then here we get into the more details, right? It's good to see you enjoying life after losing your old man. His voice turned sad. Harder to do when you get old. And this explains the grandfather, right? So you've covered that, so you don't need that in the upper paragraph. Fox blinked at the old fisherman, suddenly remembering Bristol had lost his nephew in the same fire that had murdered grandfather. His grief had been too strong for him to remember much more than some of the other grieving faces. Name's Fox. That names, there is a contraction of name is, so you should put an apostrophe between the E and the S. Name's Fox, he introduced himself. Sorry about your nephew. This time Bristol nodded, his face deepening into his own recent grief. We fished together, Bristol said. Was teaching him everything I know about the dark water and Thundark. Was going to be my heir. turned out I was his. Ever hear if Rap caught that murdering wizard? Fox asked, letting his anger at the captain of the... You need the there. You missed it. Typo, probably. The captain of the town watch being paid off by the hand to wash away his own rising grief. That's a very long sentence. You want to change that, okay? Ever hear if Rap caught that murdering wizard? Fox asked, letting his anger wash away his own rising grief. He remembered how the captain of the town watch had been paid off by the hand and clenched his fist. Something like that. Then it's more visceral too. You also have the opportunity to bring in more feelings. Yes, oh I see. Okay. Alright, cool. Bristol snorted. Never gonna happen, boyo, he grumbled. He loves his fat coffers too much. Fox nodded. He glanced at the sun still rising towards noon, then back to the old fisherman with his bottle of rum. If you can stand to put away your rum for a while, I'm headed to the inn for a meal before getting down to the day's business. Wouldn't mind some company. Bristol corked his rum and tossed the bottle down onto the neatly piled nets in his fishing boats. Don't mind at all, boyo, Bristol said, his face brightening. He stood up and, despite his age, his back was straight. There was still plenty of spring in his step as the three of them headed off to the Blackstone Inn. Cool. Okay, I like this chapter. I think you've done a good job of introducing the fact that there's this old guy who's going to give him advice about the Thrundark and the Darkwater. That's a good catalyst. Also, using his relationship with Shirey as a catalyst towards the next thing and as an explanation for the fact that, you know, spices are the family business. That's useful. We know we're going to touch again on the clumps and jerky, so mentioning it here is good, right? You know, everything in this chapter does something and moves the plot along. That's great. Also, I like Bristol, and I want to get to know him more, and I'm sure I'm going to get the opportunity. Actually, this is a really good chapter overall. I wonder if I can... how do I like it? Down here, right? Oh, I have to like the manuscript. That's right. Blackstone is called. Okay. No, this is good. I like your characterization. I think that's your greatest strength so far, and that's really important as a writer. I'm already following this. Did I like it? How do I like it? I must have missed something. Click below the love at heart. Okay. Ah, there it is. Okay. That's great, Daz. I like that. Yeah, this is a really good chapter. Just a couple of, you know, minor edits and changing, you know, trying to get more show than tell. They're my only real critiques here. Overall, it's very strong. It's good. I get the sense that the plot is moving. The hand's obviously going to be the bad guy, right? The captain who took bribes probably is going to be too, right? And they're planning to do something about it, but they currently don't have the power, and that's really cool. That, you know, we've established the plot, we've got the characters, you know, we know what's happening. So this is good stuff. All right, gang. I think that is enough for one day. Who is up at the moment? Should we raid Carol, or should we raid Stretch, or is Stretch even up at the moment? I don't know what's going on Twitch, guys. Can you tell me? My other computer's like over there because wasn't organized when I got started, and I don't like to open Twitch when I'm already twitching because it tends to cause everything to go on my stream. Your help always makes me think, Sable. A good thing. I'm glad you find it helpful, and you know, if it improves your writing so that you can get more attention for your work and get more readers and get more widely published, then that would be awesome. I see Travis and Closet Forge are up. Okay. Is anybody following the Carolverse? You know what? Just a second. I'm going to go over to my computer on the other side of the room and I will figure it out. Travis is cool. Closet Forge is cool too, but they're probably playing Stream Raiders right now. Just a sec. It's probably my mom, and I want to talk to her actually because she had an adventure last night. I want to make sure she's all right. Chords. Okay. Carolverse is up. Okay. And Stretch is not. So normally I raid Stretch today, but we are definitely going to raid Carol. That would be Mar, that we were talking to, Mar Carol of the Carolverse. And yeah, Stretch isn't up yet, and Travis is playing poker. All right. So, as I've said, I'm sorry, Toysoldiers will not be happening tonight. So we will be back on Tuesday. Aaron is doing Ask an Old GM at 1 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. GMT. And that runs for 3 hours. I will be back on Wednesday with Diane Wrights, 1 p.m. Pacific. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He's on 2 p.m. on Tuesday. 2 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. GMT this week. I am going to be back on Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. GMT for Diane Wrights. And then Thursday, I'm back with Diane Actually Writes for more writing sprints. I did not finish my challenge. Hopefully, I will have that to show you on Wednesday. I'm going to work on it tonight and see if I can get it done. Thanks for the well wishes, guys. When you get to Mar, don't forget to yell, "Prepare to be boarded," because we are the Sable's privateers. As always, it has been a pleasure joining you guys, and thank you for sharing your work with me and for writing with me today. And I will see you, I'll see you Tuesday or Wednesday. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye.